Welcome to the Status Knowledge Lab video on multi-sided platform marketplaces. In this video, we will be going over various aspects of platform marketplaces, their importance, and their usage. More specifically, we will be looking at the Platform Manifesto, the roles that platform marketplaces must perform, metrics for measuring the platform's value and success, the way to enhance the interactions between users and the platform, and finally, the way to solve the chicken and egg problem. Before we dive into the details though, let's briefly refresh our memories on what multi-sided platform marketplaces are. Multi-sided platform marketplaces are platforms that operate as an infrastructure where two or more groups interact with each other in order to create and exchange value. So, the main goal for these platforms is to facilitate improved cooperation among its users. The platform is a matchmaker. Companies like Uber, eBay, or Airbnb are examples of multi-sided marketplaces. They act as matchmakers between drivers, artists, and hosts and their consumers. Moving forward, let's look at key differences between platform marketplaces and traditional products and services. Platforms have greater intrinsic market potential relative to products or services. Platforms are structurally different from traditional businesses. Platform businesses put a platform's ecosystem against a rival traditional ecosystem. The value of the platform marketplace lies in the network effects and the social consensus, not the software itself. That's why the decentralized open-source technologies and public programmable blockchains have the potential to create greater value than the existing centralized platforms. All these differences were factors which contributed to the creation of the following manifesto that explains how the logic of traditional production can be translated into the development and management of multi-sided platforms. The Platform Manifesto includes the following concepts. The network effect is the new driver for scale. The ecosystem replaces the supply chain. Community management replaces human resources management. User journeys replace sales funnels. Behavior design replaces the loyalty program. Data science replaces business process optimization. Social feedback replaces sales commission. Real-time customization replaces market research. Plug and play replaces business development. It's good to keep these points in mind, as they will help us to raise our awareness of how to incorporate these terms into our daily practice. The transition from traditional business to this new business model happened over time, and now, platforms give businesses and consumers the potential for rapid growth and allow participants to co-create and exchange value. So, in this new business model, where the organization is no longer the producer of value, platforms must perform two specific roles: providing an open, participative, plug-and-play infrastructure for service providers and consumers to interact with each other and create value. Carefully building governance mechanisms that define how social and economic participation on the platform take place. However, while it is essential that we understand the necessity for platform marketplaces, as well as the roles a platform marketplace performs, a marketplace whose progress isn't monitored and controlled can be neither sustainable nor profitable. So, we should be aware of the metrics for measuring a marketplace's value and success. There are many metrics that one could look at and draw information from. The key here, though, is to utilize the metrics that accurately depict user participation. Let's look at some examples of relevant user participation metrics, as well as metrics that could potentially be misleading. Let's review these metrics more closely. Firstly, we have usage metrics. Usage metrics are measurements of the amount of usage on the platform, which may include page views, downloads, memberships, or subscriptions to content. Although these metrics are important, they don't implicitly demonstrate if we are achieving our user participation goal. Therefore, we shouldn't focus entirely on usage metrics, as they can potentially be vanity metrics. Next, let's look at monthly active users, MAU. Monthly active users is a metric used to count the number of unique users who interacted with the platform within the past month. For example, in a blockchain network, this can be measured by the number of accounts and the number of each account's transactions in the observed period. But please be aware that if we base our reports on this number alone, it may lead us to another vanity metric. The next metric we'll look at is bounce rate. Bounce rate measures the percentage of visitors who land on our site and leave right away, rather than staying to engage with it in some way. If our bounce rate is high, it might be a sign that our customer acquisition strategy is not working and that we're addressing the wrong target group. There are also transaction metrics. When we start looking at transaction-related metrics, it is tempting to focus on the number of transactions. But this is not an actionable metric. It does not tell us what we need to change. To foster sustainable growth, it's preferable that we focus on liquidity, provider-to-consumer ratio, and repeat purchase ratio. Of course, we can't forget business metrics. It is also important to consider business metrics. These are a few of the more well-known ones: gross merchandise volume, GMV, customer acquisition cost, CAC, customer lifetime value, CLV, customer conversion funnel, user satisfaction metrics, net promoter score, NPS. Lastly, let's see a bit more about evolutionary metrics. Metrics of evolution fulfill three roles in the assessment of the evolution of a platform or app. 1. They help steer evolution in directions that enhance the platform's fitness and its evolving competitive environment. 2. They separate signals from noise so that we avoid pursuing dead ends and missing out on promising opportunities. And 3. They help us manage trade-offs among design choices at forks in the road along the platform's evolutionary trajectory. It is essential that we utilize and combine these metrics during the design process and be aware of their impacts. By doing so, we will be able to improve the experience the platform provides and increase our user engagement. Since we are aiming to enhance our users' experience with our platform, we'll need to utilize the information we gathered from looking at metrics to improve our multi-sided platform marketplace's execution. Let's take a closer look at some important execution elements. Building long-term cumulative value. Platforms must ensure that participants, particularly producers, find long-term value in participation, value that scales with repeated participation. Strong curation mechanisms and trust. Participants' trust can be gained by ensuring that the platform rewards quality and mitigates risk. Strong filters and relevance. Consumers should be able to find items of relevance with minimal effort and risk. Sustainable interactions. The platform should be able to own interactions sustainably and create enough value through interactions to prevent off-platform collusion among producers and consumers. We need to ensure our platform contains all these elements because the better our platform's execution, the more value it is likely to draw in. Apart from managing a platform's execution and the interactions among its users, there is another crucial problem: the chicken and egg problem. Failing to solve the chicken and egg problem can mean market failure. The most frequent question that articulates this problem is, when side A's volume depends on side B and side B's volume depends on side A, how do you get started? Well, there are some strategic choices that we need to remind ourselves of from time to time in order to solve this problem. These choices are: create standalone value for one side first, subsidize one or both sides, and sometimes bring two sides on board simultaneously. Instead of asking which came first, the chicken or the egg, use these strategies to solve the problem once and for all. Now that we have made it to the end of this video, let's review some of the most important points we covered. Our goal is to provide the best possible experience to the users of our platforms. So, this technology should be built only after understanding the interaction which it facilitates. At Status, We build platforms that emphasize enhancing user participation and interactions through technology. The discipline of testing and measuring is also an extremely important aspect. Platforms also allow us to design more efficient markets for users and automated marketplaces for providing public goods like private P2P communications, decentralized file storage, and corruption-resistant institutions on the blockchain, which would be prerequisite for a network state. Thank you for watching this video on multi-sided platform marketplaces. If you liked this video, click on one of the other links below and find out some essential information about other business models and concepts used at Status.